What's up? I don't think anybody's going to be here just yet because this is the definition of a last minute live. Didn't think I was going to have time for any of this today. Planned on maybe going live tonight if and when we get a verdict before court gets out on Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Will we have a verdict in the Letecia Stauch case? That is to be determined. But as we're here right now, closing arguments have finished. The state went first, the defense went second, and the state gets to go last in rebuttal because they hold the burden. We're going to talk about those closing arguments. Now I have maybe 20 minutes. I don't have clips queued up. I do have some of the clips here with timestamps that we may try to get to if we have time. But I want to kind of give you my reaction because it was interesting, right? It was not exactly how I felt when opening statements were done. And I didn't have quite the same feeling towards the defense, I'll say, during these closing arguments, which may be surprising. And I want to know what you all think. I want to get your questions answered, of course. That's a big part of these videos. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And please make sure that you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Okay? We're continuing to grow. We blew past 225K and we're pushing to 250K. We're going to think of something big to do at 250K. We're over 19,000 on Instagram at Tragos Law. If you want to give us a follow on there, when we hit 20, we're going to give away some of the new merch from the new site, which I'm not wearing right now because, as most of you know that have been following me on Twitter and Instagram, I'm in a wedding tomorrow with the boys golfing today with the groomsmen. The ladies were having a Cinco de Mayo brunch there. Just got home, showered, kids got home from school. This was not planned, as most of you know. So if you see my kids running around in the background or my parents come over because they're watching our kids tonight, that's why. But, we'll ride through it. We'll ride through it because that's what we do together right here in the Lawyer You Know and Chat You Know family. So let's get to the closing arguments. The state starts out, and it's the DA there, I guess, people have told me. And he's really strong, obviously. And he starts out with something that I loved. One of the first things he says is, you all, thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for paying attention. You all asked some of the best questions throughout this trial, and I'm going to use them and reference them in my closing argument. What does that do? Number one, it's true. Number two, it makes them focus in even more because he's saying, you're so focused, we've been watching, and there's proof you're focused, and those are your questions. And number three, it endears him with the jury, saying, you asked great questions, and I'm going to ask them again and answer them for you here in closing, which is exactly what we discussed when we talked about jury questions. And if it's good for you and they're asking things that you have the answer to, you better make sure you give it to them, either with that witness or when you, as the lawyer, have the opportunity to talk to the jury, which is closing arguments. I loved how he defined insanity. He defined it in Colorado, and how Dr. Lewis can't, and how people are presumed sane. But as we talked about, and as my dad discussed, is a little different in Colorado than some other states. Once the defense presents some evidence of insanity, then the state has the burden to prove that that person was sane at the time of committing the crime. And he said multiple times throughout this closing argument, we are happy to take this burden. We want the burden of proof, and we have gone well above and beyond the burden of proof in this case. He said that over and over. And for some of us that were discussing Dr. Lewis's testimony and how we didn't feel like there was a lot there, there wasn't a ton to prove that Letecia Stauch was insane, besides the fact that it's just insane that somebody would do something like this, but that's not the legal definition of insanity. He said that is some evidence, but it falls apart when you actually start thinking about Dr. Lewis's testimony. And he hit on that. And he said, she literally doesn't know the standard. She wanted the EEGs and the MRIs. Then she didn't when she didn't think it was going to help them. She performed her testing after than everybody else and was the only one that found DID. She disregarded basically what everybody else said. She was the only doctor that would give them what they wanted. She produced her opinions late and without the necessary testing and documentation that she needed to do so. So can you really trust what she said? So that's where they were going with Dr. Lewis. I also thought during his questioning, it's always interesting. It's like parts that really stick with me during their questioning. I like when the lawyers bring it up again on closing, because I obviously thought, as somebody watching the trial, that's important. That's something that's convincing. And that's what this lawyer is trying to do, is convince me, right? Not really convince me, but convince the jury if we're pretending to be jurors. So he repeated multiple examples of what somebody does when they're actually insane. They either don't cover it up or don't lie about it because they don't think it's wrong, or they black out, and when they notice what happened, then they flee, but they don't necessarily cover it up. They don't make up stories. They don't believe something else happened if they see the carnage and complete the task like Letecia Stauch did. And of course, he hit the facts. We knew the state was going to hit the facts in their closing. They're brutal facts. They're horrific, sad facts that are going to make this jury. They're going to make this jury want justice for Gannon, as we all do as we're listening to this. And that's why you have to talk about the facts. We're not going to talk about them here because we're not trying to convince anybody of this. And if you want to know the facts, you can obviously watch the trial. But what I thought was really artful by the DA was he mixed in the sanity arguments as he explained the facts of what she did. And again, this is something I love that he did, questioning Dr. Lewis, bringing it back around in closing, what she did before the crime, during the crime, and after the crime. Prove that she was sane at the time the crime was committed, which is what's important for this case. And I thought he did a really good job there. Now, I did think it was a kind of a weird and rushed ending. He was like, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting to take this much time with you guys. And I felt like he didn't really hammer home. He's like, you remember the facts, you remember everything. I fully believe that the state knows they're going to win this case and they think it's going to be quick. More on that later. But then we get to the defense. And they start out by saying, one thing you can't answer is motive. It makes no sense going from a loving family pictures to this. This has been the most highly investigated case in this county. Thousands of hours to try to prove motive, and they can't because it was a psychotic break. She's a special needs teacher, a loving mom, and stepmom. The fire must have triggered something and she melted down. So what I wanted to do here is mix the defense closing and the rebuttal, because the rebuttal did respond to the defense's closing. And I thought they did a good job saying, we don't have to prove motive. You won't find motive anywhere in there. And while that's smart and it makes sense, what we're doing in closing, as I've explained other times, is it's not necessarily saying everything that happened throughout the case, but you want to give jurors the tools to answer the questions on the verdict form that they have to answer, and tools to potentially convince other jurors that may disagree with them. No, Jennifer, they do not have to prove motive, but juries usually want a motive, and without a motive, potentially, they could say it's insanity. Because it's different than not having a motive in Murdoch, because a lot of those jurors said, yeah, I don't know for sure what the motive was, but it didn't matter because we think he did it. Well, in this case, Stauch is admitting that she did it, but with no motive, some people would logically think that means insanity. And I thought on rebuttal, they did a good job saying we don't have to prove motive. But again, it was still one of the good points for the defense. There's not a lot of them. And when he said the fire triggered this for Letecia Stauch, on rebuttal, he did a good job. The state did a good job of saying, be careful when they start adding facts and asking you to speculate. Because that means they don't have it. They don't have what they need. Then, this was an interesting part that I thought was actually a good argument until I thought about it a little more, and I was like, actually, it's not a very good argument, which is okay. At least he's given it a shot, right? It's better than opening. better than opening in Vallow and better than opening in this case where I felt like they were rolling over and giving up. But I will say that when he went through how horribly planned this crime was and how it had to be a psychotic break, because why wouldn't she have done this, or why wouldn't she have done that, or why would she take the body there? Why would she be so open so people could have seen it? Why would she have done it this way with this many wounds and this many weapons? There was a much quicker and cleaner and easier way to do this. Thinking, okay, but just because somebody's bad at making a plan or bad at committing a crime, or the crime doesn't make sense to any logical person, which most murders don't, if that means they're insane and not guilty, we're in trouble. Because there's a lot of convicted criminals that are bad at committing crimes, but it doesn't mean that they're insane. So I think eventually that argument fell flat. Big evidence of insanity was the way that the crime was committed. He was 85 pounds, not strong, not big. Why would she do it like this? Because she had a psychotic break. He also confuses planned with premeditation, because I agree with him. I don't think this was very well planned out. There wasn't some manifesto. She didn't, think, okay, I'm going to commit the crime now and it's going to be clean and easy. I'm going to get rid of the body here, there, whatever. Instead, it just seemed like a very dumb way to do this. And she was always going to get caught, in my opinion. She did everything she could not to. But just because it wasn't well planned or thought out doesn't mean it wasn't premeditated, doesn't mean it wasn't intentional. I think they have plenty of that in this case. And then, perhaps the worst part of closing for the defense, which was when he started talking about Dr. Lewis, his own expert. And he says, Dr. Lewis is 85 years old. She's got a great resume, which we all agree with. But her age may make her lose her memory on some details. They may have been fuzzy. So you're admitting that your expert doesn't have a good memory, is maybe past her prime, which I think most of us could see on the stand. So maybe he was trying to be honest. But to me, when you have a jury instruction that says weigh the credibility of experts, weigh the credibility of witnesses, and that's who you have versus multiple state mental health experts and people from Letecia's life saying she was perfectly fine and not insane, that's tough. And I don't think that was hit. I know they talked about Dr. Lewis again on rebuttal, but I don't think that was hit. And I would have said, I agree with the defense. She is 85 years old and is having memory problems. And that's probably why somebody as smart and well-decorated, as decorated as she is, would mess up a case like this, because even she couldn't explain it. She said it, she put it down on pen and paper, because she even said she knows she has to slant it toward the defense when she's hired by the defense. I would have said that. And I don't think it's towing the line, because I think that's what she said. Well, when you guys hire somebody, it's slanted that way. When they hire somebody, it's slanted that way. That's what I would have said. He does go into multiple mental health diagnoses that people said she may have or may not have. The state said she had, I think, split personality disorder or something. And he said they just want that to be there so it's not insanity. But she has that. She has DID. She has anxiety. She has other things. I think he did a good enough job of saying the words that if a jury is looking for something, again, looking for tools to fight for not guilty by reason of insanity, I do think he gave them some, with the talk about the stress and the mental break and the abuse that happened to her. Again, for what he had and for how bad the opening was and how little good came out throughout the trial, I actually think this was about as good of a closing as this defense attorney team could have done. I'm surprised. I did not think I was going to feel that way, honestly. But I think he did a good job. I think we got to call it how we see it. Regardless of how we feel, regardless if we would still vote guilty as a potential juror, which is where I would be in this case. I would be a quick guilty, and I would argue with people that thought otherwise. You guys can let me know where you would be in the chat. We've done the votes and the polls. I don't have any of that set up today because it was last minute. He also, I thought, did a good job saying, you're not going to see anything that says covering up a murder is not insanity. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Just because somebody covers it up doesn't mean they're not insane. And he said, there's also some cases where that has actually happened, where somebody has been found not guilty by reason of insanity and they covered it up afterwards and lied about it. And I thought that was great because it's true. Now, it's one of the factors. And there's a mountain of evidence that they stacked on top of that. But I think he's doing a good job saying, because again, that's a big one for me. That's a big one for a lot of you in the chat. And I actually think that he did a good job of saying, listen, you may think that's the biggest factor in the end all be all, but you're not going to see anything that says if they cover it up, then they're not insane. I thought it was a good point. Then on the state's rebuttal, he again said they don't have to prove motive. Al would have never left if she had psychosis. They want you to speculate a lot. And then one of the most important things I thought, well, two important things I want to hit on. The first is at the end of rebuttal, the state said, you can take as long or as short as you want in deliberations. No one's going to second guess you. You can return a verdict in 10 minutes or 2 weeks. I promise you, nobody thinks it's going to take 2 weeks for them to get a verdict in this case. People are saying the rebuttal was weak. I don't know if I'd say it was weak. I don't think it was amazing. I think the first close and the defense close were better, but I think he made some points. And I like that he gave them the authority. Make a quick decision back there. We all know what this is. And again, some cases that have a lot of counts, like the Darrell Brooks case, whatever, regardless of how easy it was to come down on guilty, it's still going to take a while just to fill out the forms. This case is not that complicated. And I've said kind of all along, as long as closing arguments finish today, and they finished, I think, about lunchtime, an hour ago or something, lunchtime, Mountain Time, I expected a verdict today, before this rehearsal dinner I'm about to go to even finishes. But the last thing that we're going to finish here on, talking about closing arguments, is what I loved that the first DA did. He said, we heard so much about Letecia Stauch, what she did, what she's been through, the decisions she made. When it's an insanity defense, it becomes even more about the defendant and their history and their treatment and what they did before, during, and after. But let's not forget what this case is about and the most important person in this case, and that's Gannon. I thought that was literally like driving a spear through the defendant's chest. Because let's not actually forget what this case is about. And while all the jurors are going to have to play doctor back there and try to determine mental health diagnoses and how it affected Letecia Stauch and when it affected her, let's not forget you're here to decide what happened to him and why. And a stepmom that Googles, I hate my stepson or whatever she Googled, that's a pretty big knock at what the motive was in this case. All right, so let's get to your questions here. Oh. All right, I just changed mics, so I don't know if that, John said I had it on the wrong mic, so sorry about that. Again, not a lot of preparation for this video, so you're welcome if anybody was looking for the good mic. All right, let's get to some questions here. Nobody was complaining about the mic, so that was a good sign. But somebody said that was much better. Okay, sounds much better. Okay, sorry. Hey, that's what happens sometimes, right? Okay. All right. Let's get to some questions. Allie, welcome to the membership crew, and Mary Phillips. We've actually got a couple fun members only videos planned, I think. Jennifer, welcome. We haven't decided fully how we're going to do them, but we're going to incorporate some other people in the office, do some fun stuff, some non-lawyer stuff. Let's get some questions though. Easy peasy. In Cross, Dr. Lewis, in Cross of Dr. Lewis, she kept saying she didn't have enough to say she was thinking clearly and show intent. If that's the case, how does she have enough to prove she wasn't? I think that was the point. That was one of the problems. She even said she needed EEG, MRI, whatever, and she didn't have them. So if you didn't have what you needed, how did you come up with the diagnosis? And if you didn't have a diagnosis, why are you here testifying? And if you don't know if your diagnosis even fits the definition of insanity in Colorado, the state in which you're testifying, why are you here? That's kind of the multi-step process that you go through when breaking down Dr. Lewis's testimony. Tori Fowl, how do you think both sides did on closing? Be as spicy as you want. So glad I was able to catch you live. Well, Tori, I answered that one. Probably not as spicy as you were looking for because I actually think closing did a good job. And they didn't go on forever. This trial's been a multi-week, long, hard, difficult trial. So I'm glad they didn't go on forever and ever because I don't think you're changing anybody's mind at this point. But they did give some tools to the jurors that agreed with them. Thank you for the super sticker, Melanie. Jennifer, Peter, if they find out the daughter was in on it / knew about it in any form, would she be in trouble too now, lying on the stand? Potentially she could be. It could be a situation like that, but it also, if she was given any deal or immunity or anything like that, then potentially that could be broken if she was actually lying. She could be an accomplice. It could be a completely different trial. Just because Letecia Stauch gets convicted wouldn't preclude her from getting convicted or from committing perjury, like you're saying. But I see no evidence of that. Nobody thought that. If anything, Letecia Stauch was manipulative and not telling full truths, and that came out throughout the whole trial. So I don't think there's any evidence of that at all. Nora, hi, Peter. Please don't accept Grizzly's invitations. She's unhinged, and her giggles during serious cases are creepy. All the love and respect to you. I think she's great. I honestly think she's great. I don't know her personally, but every time I've had an interaction with her, and every time I've been on her show, she's really well prepared, and she's fair in everything that I talk about with her. Rosie, we've seen no remorse / grief from Letecia since she knew she murdered him. That's enough for me. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff where looking at the defendant on the stand, and it's happened in the Lori Vallow case as well, that, I think the jurors are definitely paying attention to. Azam, thank you for the super sticker. Bree Cole, should we subscribe to your channel? I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you think? There's 4,000 of you. So hit the like button before you answer Bree in the chat. I guess I might be saying that too much, Bree. Sorry. ST4R. Laura, you have easily become my favorite lawyer on the tube. Proud to be a subscriber. Love catching you live. Best commentary around. Well, thank you. Maybe that star is out what that's supposed to read. Thank you. I love tacos. What a great name. And Brianna, welcome. Tina, thank you for the super sticker. Ashley, I was hoping you wouldn't ask. Last week I played really great. Or was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago I played really great. Working on a couple things with the swing, shallowing it out. Today was not great. Couldn't catch the center of the club face. I did have 4 birdies, which was a lot, but multiple double bogeys, and we were playing kind of short tees. It wasn't great. Michaela, welcome to the membership crew. All right, I've got about 3 minutes left. Yeah, I see some people talking about the Grizzly stuff in here. If somebody's annoying or rude or unhinged or whatever, at least from my perspective, then I'm not gonna engage a lot. I'm not gonna go on there. I don't know a lot of these creators personally, but she has been nothing but awesome. She emails me if I can't come on. She's gracious about it. If I have 5 minutes, or like the other day I had 10 minutes, she's like, please come on. And I came on, and it was easy and clean, and just, I appreciate professionalism and making this easy, because it's not easy and a lot of stuff can go wrong, as you see, it happens all the time. Like, I wasn't even hooked up to the right mic. Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, Ellen said her daughter did get immunity. I think that's good. I think it was worth it, and I think the danger to society is is Letecia Stauch, not her daughter. Amy, welcome to the crew. Miracle Mama, yeah, we can do that at the end again. There's way too many child victims we're dealing with, right? I mean, even the Idaho 4 case is kids. I mean, just kids in their late teens, early 20s. All right, let's see here. Somebody is gifting memberships, which is great. Okay, it is 4:15 my time, and I've got to head to this rehearsal dinner. So please like the video on your way out. I have one more comment here. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell because I'm gonna hit these last couple comments. So make sure you hit that bell because we go last minute live just like this. When the verdict happens, I have no idea what time because I got a bunch of wedding festivities today and tomorrow. But if the verdict comes down tonight, you know I'll be talking about it. And I'm going to want to answer your questions. It's already taken more than an hour. So are they thinking about it? Are we going to be surprised? And what do we think? We're going to save what we think the jury held on to the most in coming to their decision until we find out what their decision is. Debbie, my backyard is the 9th tee at a Clearwater golf course. If you see someone waving from their screen porch, it might be me. That's awesome. What course? That's what I need to know so I can wave back. Good vibe, Stacy. Will they give impact statements tonight? I don't think so. I think sentencing will be set off. Actually, I don't even know because it might just be life because I don't think they have the death penalty. So I think it just might be life. I don't think there might not even be a sentencing hearing, but there will be impact statements. I just don't think it'll be today. Make sure you dance until you drop with your wife. Have fun. Thank you. Oh, they're just having lunch, LB said. Okay. All right. Well, we will wait and we will see what happens. Gingy Probs, welcome back. All right. I'm going to hit the outro. We'll come back, pray it up on our way out. Stephanie Dolsky. If this is the Stephanie Dolsky I know, it looks like you in the small picture. What's up, Stephanie? If it's not, then there's a Stephanie Dolsky that I do know, and you, who's a member now I know. All right. Outro coming. Stick around if you want to pray it up for Gannon on the way out. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know. All right. Let's pray it up. God, in an imperfect world, thank you for forms of justice that we don't always get right, but we have, and hope that justice to come for Gannon and some peace to come for his family and some closure. They'll never forget it, but help them to be able to heal from it and put your arms around them and let them feel the comfort and let the community and people come around them. And thank you that we have this channel to talk about it and educate ourselves and learn about the system and how to deal with tough times together in a tough world. Amen. All right. That's all I got today. Catch you guys on the next one. I'm out of here.